Now let's see how we find values of trigonometric functions that are greater than 90 degrees. Okay, we know sine 30 degrees, sine 45 degrees, right? But how we can find the value of, for example, sine 120 degrees. So you can immediately draw your 120 degrees on the unit circle and draw your radius. Like here, for example, let's draw our angle. It's 120. It will be somewhere here. Okay, so this is 120 degrees, right? So I need this length, right? Because our angle on this length, and this is our sine line. That's why we need this length. So how we can find this? If this is 120 degrees, it means that here is equal to 60 degrees, right? So when I draw my 90 degrees here, I know that this is equal to 1, and when the opposite of 90 degrees is equal to 1, the opposite of 60 degrees is equal to square root of 3 over 2, right? So actually this is also the value of our cosine, our sine 120 degrees, because I need this length and I found it from here, right? So our sine 120 degrees is actually equal to square root of 3 over 2. So is there any chance that sine 120 degrees is equal to sine of any lower degrees? Yes, there is, but how we can find that? So if you draw your radius here to another side, okay, let's draw here another side, and when you make another 60 degrees here, let's say this is our 60 degrees, okay, so it's actually same vertical line occurs. So when you also draw your right triangle here, also here is equal to square root of 3 over 2, right? So as you can see, these and these and these are all equal to each other, which means sine 100, and we can say that sine 120 degree is equal to sine 60 degrees. Okay, now we understood this, but we cannot draw our unit circle every time, right? When you are on the exam, you cannot always draw your unit circle and find the degrees like this. So there are some steps to consider when the question is asked. First, you look at the function. Okay, first thing, you look at the function. If it is sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, okay, then you look at its degree. 60, 20, it's 20 degree, how many degree, and then you look at its sign. Okay, first function, you look at the function and then its degree, okay, and then you look at its sign. Okay, so we have these formulas here. Maybe you have seen these formulas before, but I want you to understand the logic behind this. I don't want you to memorize this, okay? Just understand the logic behind this, okay? And then it will be much easier for you to solve these problems. So first you look at the function, as I said before. At the horizontal line, we have here 0 degrees, right? 0 degrees. Here we have 180 degrees, and here also we have 360 degrees, right? And on this line, function doesn't change, okay? So here we have our cosine, here the function doesn't change. And when you look at your this line, sine x line, we have here 90 degrees and 270 degrees, right? So which here at the vertical line, function change, we said function change, which means sine will become cosine, cosine will become sine. So let's solve one example and you will understand better. Now let's continue with this example. First, we will find the values based on the horizontal line, and then we will find the values based on the vertical line, okay? So let's start with our horizontal line here. So we have here our 0 degrees, our 180 degrees, and our 360 degrees. And we will take more than these degrees or less than these degrees. What do I mean by that? First, we are looking the function, right, as I said before. So for example, here we have cosine 210 degrees. So first I look at the function. It is cosine, so it will remain as cosine function, okay? And then we look at the degree of this angle. So it is 210 degrees, right? It's close to 180. We should look, when it comes to its degree, we should look at the degrees 0, 180 and 360. Don't forget about this. And after that, we said that this is cosine 210. It will remain as cosine, okay? And it's close to 180, which means I can write this as 180 degree, right, plus 30. This is equal to 210. So when we write this like this, we need this part, okay? So we have here 30, right? So this is actually equal to cosine 30. Now, what was the last step? We are looking at its sine, right? So now let's look at the sine of this cosine. So it's cosine 210, right? So 210, it's 180. 210 is somewhere here. Okay, so here our cosine line, here is cosine, is on the negative side. So which means that it is negative minus cosine 30. So instead of this cosine 210 degrees, I can write minus cosine 30 degrees, which is equal to, I know that cosine 30 degrees is equal to square root of 3 over 2. You see? So when you rewrite this based on the x-axis, so which is here is we have 180 degrees plus, I can write this as like this. So the function remain as same, okay, and then you look at the angle, you rewrite again, and then you look the sign on the unit circle, and you rewrite your this expression. You rewrite your expression again. So let's solve another one. For example, let's say we want to find the value of sine 150, right? So again, we look at our horizontal line. Okay, function, we said that function doesn't change. So if this is sine, it will remain as sine, right? So let's look at its degree. It's 150 degrees. Okay, so 150 degrees, it is again close to 180 degrees. So I can write this as 180 minus 30, right? Okay, perfect. So this is the part I need. So it will be sine 30. Okay, but how we can find its sine? Sine is 150 degrees. It's somewhere here, right? It's somewhere here, and the sine is here. It's positive. It's not negative. It's positive. That's why it's plus sine 30 degrees, which is equal to 1 over 2. Okay, so let's find, for example, sine, let's say sine 240 degrees. Okay, this is also sine, and it will remain as sine. Okay, and instead of 240, I can write it as 180 plus 60, right? This is equal to 240. So from here, I need this part again. So this will be something sine 60, but it is negative or positive. Let's see. So 240, it is somewhere here, okay? And this on this quadrant, sine is negative, right? Because this is our sine, and this will be, yes, here it is negative because here is minus 1, so it will be minus sine 60. For example, if I want to find the value of cosine 330 degrees, okay, So it's cosine, it will remain as cosine. Now instead of 330, I can write 360 minus 30, right? This is equal to 330. So I again need this part. So this will be something cosine 30 actually. So let's find the sine of this. So 330, it will be somewhere here, and the cosine sign here is positive, right? On the positive side. That's why this is equal to plus cosine 30, which is equal to square root of 3 over 2. So how we find the values of tangent, for example. Let's say I want to find the value of tangent 200 degrees. Okay, we do the same thing. I can write this as tangent 180 plus, it's 20, right? Yes, 180 plus 20. So I again need this part, right? So it will be something tangent 20, but it is positive or negative. So to find this, you again, let's do this here. So how do we find the sine? As you remember from our previous lectures, this is how we draw the line of tangent. We draw parallel line to y-axis, right? It's something like this, right? So when we look at 200 degrees on this unit circle, 200 degree is somewhere here, right? But it doesn't have any point on this line. That's why how we do that, we just like do this, right? So from here to here, this is our tangent value. This is our tangent, actually 200 degrees. Okay, so is this positive or negative? It is positive. Why? Because it's on the positive side. Now let's do based on our vertical line. Okay, we said that on our when we do based on our vertical line, functions change. So on our vertical line, we have our 90 degrees and 270 degrees, right? So we rewrite these degrees based on the degree 90 and 270. Okay, for example, here we have sine 120 degrees. So we said that functions change, which means if this is sine, it will become cosine, right? Okay, so instead of 120, I can write 90 plus 30, right? Because remember, don't forget this, we rewrite these degrees based on 90 degrees and 270 degrees. Okay, we rewrite them. So okay, this is cosine 90 plus 30. So this part all we need. So this will be something cosine 30. So let's look at its sine. So 120 degrees, it is somewhere here, and sine function here, it's sine. Here's our sine function and here's cosine function, right? So sine is here, it's positive. So it will be positive cosine 30, which is equal to square root of 3 over 2. Okay, let's say we want to find the value of cosine 240 degrees, right? So since we do that, we rewrite this based on our vertical line, function changes. So this cosine will become sine, okay? And instead of 240, I can write this as it's close to, is it close to 90 degrees or 270 degrees? It's close to 270 degrees, right? So I can write this as sine 270 minus 30, right? So this is sine, we need this part, 30. So let's look at its sine, it's 240, so 240, it's somewhere here. So here the sine is negative, right? Here it's somewhere here, so it's negative. It's minus sine 30 degrees, with sine 30 degrees. And for example, let's say we want to find the value of cosine 510 degrees. Okay, so what do we do in this case? First we will find the principal angle of this, and then we will do the same thing as we did here. Okay, so how we do that? We just subtract 360 from this angle, and this is equal to, when I subtract 360, it is 0, and here we have 5, yes, and 150. You see, so this is actually equal to cosine 150 degrees. Okay, so how can I write this? So cosine will become sine, right? And instead of 150, I can write this as 90 plus 60, right? Okay, so what is the sine of this angle? 150. So 150, this is 19, this is okay. 150 is somewhere here, right? So when we look at the cosine is here, so it is negative, right? Here on the negative side. So it will be minus sine 60. So we need this part, right? Which is equal to minus square root of 3 over 2. So as I said before, actually you can use both methods. You can rewrite these based on the vertical line or horizontal line. It's all up to you. Whichever is easier for you, you will always find the same answer when you actually try the both methods. In this example, we have sine 210 degrees plus cosine 150 degrees over cosine 240 degrees is asked. So let's say I want to write this part based on the horizontal line, right? Which means based on 0 degrees, 180 degrees, or 360 degrees. So let's do that. Instead of sine 210 degrees, I can write this as sine. Why this is sine? Because when I rewrite them based on the horizontal line, function doesn't change. Okay, don't forget this, and it will remain as sine. So instead of 210, it's close to 180, right? I can write this as 180 plus 30. Okay, this is equal to 210. Let's continue. Plus, first I will write them as it is, and then we will look their signs. So here we have cosine 150, right? So here it will remain as cosine, and instead of 150, I can write this as 180 minus 30, right? Over cosine 240 degrees. Let's write this based on the vertical line. So in this case, function changes, right? So if it's cosine, it will become sine. So when I write based on the vertical line, which means I have to rewrite them based on 90 degrees or 270 degrees. In this case, this angle is close to 270 degrees. That's why I write this as 270 minus 30 degrees. Okay, let's continue. So here, let me draw a unit circle here to find the signs. Okay, so when I draw my unit circle, so here I need 30, so it will be sine 30. Let's look at its sign. It's sine 210. So 210 degrees, it is somewhere here, right? So sine, actually it's on the negative side. That's why it will be minus sine 30. Okay, let's continue with this one. Cosine 150 degrees. So 150, it is somewhere here. So as you can see, our cosine line, it's on the negative side, right? That's why this should be also minus cosine, and I need this part 30. Okay, over, let's look at this one. This is cosine 240. So 240, it is somewhere here, and also here cosine is negative, right? It's on the negative side. That's why this is also minus sine 30 degrees. You see, now everything is much easier because we know the value of these trigonometric functions. So let's put their values. Sine 30, it is 1 over 2. So let me write them here. So this is equal to minus 1 over 2 minus cosine 30, it is square root of 3 over 2 over, this is sine 30, it is minus 1 over 2. Okay, so we have here, so these minus, they will cancel each other. Okay, so we can say that this is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 over 2 over 1 over 2, which is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 over 2 times 2, and this is all equal to 1 plus square root of 3. In this example, we have cosine 7p over 6 is asked. So it's the same thing. We apply the same thing. Just its name changes. I mean, it's not in degrees, but it's written in radians. So let's say, for example, this is our unit circle, right? So it starts with 0, and then here it's p over 2. Here it's p, right? Here it's 3p over 2, and this is here 2p. So cosine 7p over 6. Let's say I want to rewrite this based on the horizontal axis. Okay, so how can I do that? When you want to rewrite based on the horizontal axis, function doesn't change, right? So cosine will remain as cosine. So it's close to p, that's why I can write this as p plus, it is p over 6. It's 6p plus p, it's 7p over 6. It's the same thing. Okay, so I can write this as like this. So let's look, it's sine. So 7p over 6. This is more than p. This is somewhere actually here. Okay, so cosine here, cosine is on the negative sign. As you can see, this is our cosine line, right? So cosine is on the negative side. That's why it will be minus cosine p over 6. You just take this part, as we also did for degrees. So from here, instead of p, when I put 180, it will be minus cosine 30 degrees, which is equal to minus square root of 3 over 2. This is the first method, but of course another easiest way, instead of, there's an easiest way. Just I would recommend for you to do that. Instead of p, just write 180 degrees. Okay, so cosine 7p over 6, which is equal to cosine 7 times 180 over 6. From here, this is 30, so it is cosine 210. Okay, so cosine 210, how can we find this? When I write this based on the horizontal axis, the function doesn't change, it will remain as cosine. Okay, and instead of 210, I can write this as 180 plus 30. Okay, so let's look at its sign. 210, it's 180, 210, it's somewhere here. As you can see, this is also, same thing. This is on the negative side, that's why this is equal to minus cosine 30 degrees, and this is equal to minus square root of 3 over 2. As you can see, we found the same solution, but of course this is much faster, and this is much faster than this one. It's all up to you. As I said before, you can find these, you can rewrite this based on the horizontal axis or vertical axis. You can rewrite them based on radians or degrees. This is all up to you. Whichever is easier for you, you choose that way.